Rob Baker, R-O-B-B-A-K-E-R, Deputy District Attorney, Santa Clara County. I head the District Attorney's Cold Case Unit.
Tell us about this latest case.
This is a big moment for the District Attorney's Office and hopefully for the families in this case. Diane Peterson was killed the day after Branham High School let out for summer break in 1978. She was killed by a single stab wound, and she was killed, the day after Branham High School let out for summer break. Diane Peterson was killed at the school when the teachers are sort of milling about and cleaning their classrooms and getting ready to go away for the summer in preparation for the next school year. So we don't really know, we haven't pinned down a specific motive, but she was killed with a single stab wound, and a student at the time was walking by and actually saw Ms. Peterson and heard her cry for help. That student provided a description of the suspect, which we included in the press release today.
At the time, in 1978, the person that you've now identified as the perpetrator, was that individual a suspect, and why were you not able, or investigators at the time, not able to make an arrest or charge that individual in 1978, yet here we are 47 years later?
Mr. Nickerson was identified as a suspect very early on in the investigation. He was arrested on a totally unrelated case 4 days after Diane's murder. And when he went to the police department, he spontaneously accused the police officers of trying to pin the murder of the teacher on him. And that's what really raised the red flag with the detectives and thought he's a potential suspect in the case. But just because he denied, even though he thought the police were trying to pin the murder on him, he denied being involved. He said he didn't own a knife, and the case was basically cold. We had this general description and we had the sketch of the suspect. Later on in 1978, the parents of the student who saw the killing went to the police and said, "He told us who it is. He knows who it is." But when the police talked to him, he said, "I never told that to my parents. I don't know who did it." So we really had some information. We had a strong suspicion, but there just wasn't enough to file charges in that case. Now in 1984, another totally independent, different witness, an associate of Mr. Nickerson, came forward and said he confessed to me that he did it. And the police did a lot of work trying to corroborate this man's claims. He took polygraph tests and he passed, but again, we didn't have any solid corroboration to corroborate what he was saying was true. So Mr. Nickerson had been a suspect for a long time. He died in 1993. Was that okay? Mr. Nickerson died in 1993. But the District Attorney's Cold Case Unit, we started looking into this case again back in 2011, 2012, when the District Attorney set up the Cold Case Unit. And you might be thinking to yourself, why are we trying to solve a murder where the main suspect died decades before? And the important thing is that just because a suspect is deceased, just because a suspect is dead, doesn't mean we give up. Because even though that person can't be charged and can't be brought to court, it's important to the family and the loved ones of that victim to give them closure, to give them the answers that they've been looking for so long. From the last 2 years, the Santa Clara County Crime Lab has been working very intensely trying to identify some forensic evidence, some DNA, fingerprints, anything that could corroborate what we previously knew about Mr. Nickerson, and it just didn't happen. The circumstances of this particular case made it very challenging for us to find and identify forensic evidence. There was no sexual assault. It was a single stab wound. The attack happened basically in a public place at the school. So we faced a lot of challenges, but once we determined there wasn't any physical evidence that was going to help us corroborate these claims or identify the killer in this case, the detectives just decided you know what, we're just going to reach out to the people who are were closest to Mr. Nickerson and see if he made any statements to them, see if they have any information that could help us close the loop on this case to try to give answers and closure to the family. Diane's murder would not have been solved if it not were Diane's murder, let me rephrase this. Diane's murder was solved because District Attorney Jeff Rosen assigned 2 homicide investigators to work full-time on the cold cases in Santa Clara County. And when we hit a brick wall and when we reached a dead end with forensic evidence, it came down to old school police work and our detectives just interviewing people, trying to get answers from people, and we finally got the answer that we were looking for.
The individual that provided the answer
Yes.
recently.
Last month.
Last month. Can you tell us the relationship of that person to Mr. Nickerson? Has this person been holding a confession for 47 years?
This person has been keeping the secret for decades. This person was a close person to Mr. Nickerson, a relative to Mr. Nickerson, and finally came forward when the detectives talked to that person.
So this person could have provided this information in 1978 or thereabouts?
Absolutely. It certainly could have been. If this person had come forward in 1978, then that would have very likely solved the case back then.
And so literally your homicide detectives found this person, contacted this person, and the person volunteered information that has been withheld for...
Oh, the relative that our detectives spoke to knew about the killing on the day of the killing. It was within hours of the killing, this person knew exactly what happened.
So since there's no statute of limitations on murder, I mean, obviously this individual wasn't there.
Correct.
Could we have charged the person who provided this information?
No, because the person that knew this didn't commit a crime and didn't aid Mr. Nickerson or give him shelter or give him any sort of assistance. This is something that Mr. Nickerson confided in this relative, and so there's no crime in that. And I think knowing what we know now about Mr. Nickerson, I can understand why someone might be hesitant to not come forward.
Afraid for his or her own safety.
Yeah, I'm confident that the person who talked to the detectives then was probably terrified of Mr. Nickerson, as most people would be if you knew someone who had committed a horrific crime like this.
It's hard to help the questions you ask.
Well, I have one question. So the person that broke the case knew of it when it happened, and you just found out 2 months ago?
We just reached out to that person 2 months ago.
So that person, when you reached out, even after Nickerson's death, did I get his name? Was it Nickerson?
Mhm.
For 30 some odd years, even after he died, kept that
The,
to
pers-
himself.
the witness we talked to, the relative of Mr. Nickerson, has been living with this secret for decades. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't there when the interview happened, but according to the detective that conducted the interview, the witness got emotional about the incident, and I think felt a lot of guilt about keeping this secret.
Was this relative who provided the information just last month on the radar as a potential source for investigative work in the 70s, or is this person who come into the picture? Did they know who this person was? Was this person interviewed?
I don't know. I don't think it was. I don't think that. Generally, I think the police were more focused on trying to identify independent witnesses, not family members.
Who might or might not have been.
Right.
So you literally reached out, your detective reached out to this person.
Yeah, because
And
it was.
He volunteered finally out of guilt or whatever reason.
It was basically a Hail Mary on our end, because we had exhausted all investigative leads. We had looked at all the evidence, tried to develop forensic DNA or any type of forensic evidence. We just had no other option, so we said, you know what, let's go and talk to the family members, and let's go talk to the relatives and see if any of them knows something about it.
Just for my own curiosity, did you talk to the witness who later denied he didn't see me?
We haven't revisited with that witness, no.
Have you or any of your staff members spoken to the family of Diane?
We have,
Peterson, and
yes,
what
and
was their feedback?
Diane's family has been very appreciative. They were very thankful for the detectives that worked so long on this case and never gave up for 47 years. However, they did ask, they did tell us that this is a time that they would like their privacy respected and didn't want to speak to the media.
Usually when you hear about a cold case, it's usually some sort of DNA, but there was none involved here. Like you said, it was good old-fashioned, we're going to go talk to somebody.
Right. This was old-fashioned police work, and the odds of someone helping us solve this case, and that he spoke to this person were so slim. But when we got the lab reports back and we talked to our lab analysts, there was nothing else to do. So that's what we did. This has been the district attorney's cold case unit has been on an extraordinary run of success. The district attorney started the unit in 2011, and since then we've solved over 30 cold case homicides, and over half of those have been solved in the last 5 years, due in large part to the district attorney's commitment to solving these cases, putting resources into it, having 2 full-time detectives work on these cases, having a full-time crime lab analyst work on these cases, and a deputy district attorney, a prosecutor, manage them.
I'm going to ask one clarifying question. How did the state's a relative, as far as the regards they did?
Yeah.
Okay. How did you find this person? Was this person had been in an old file on this case, or did you have a Texas search? I mean, how did you find the relative who did this?
You'd have to talk to the detective. They had their little detective magic. So, yeah. So
whether this person was interviewed before or not?
I don't believe the person was interviewed before. No, I don't believe this was a new. We used a new approach, and they reached out to any living relative. I don't think this wasn't just the only relative that we spoke to. We spoke to multiple people, and we finally talked to the relative who told us what really happened that day.
This guy Nickerson, he didn't really stay under the radar. I mean, he sounds like he was in and out of trouble quite a bit after.
Mr. Nickerson had multiple run-ins with the law. I think his encounters with law enforcement may very well have contributed to the reason why this family member kept the secret for so long.
And didn't he have a knife that had written on it about this is for my teacher?
Yeah.
Or
So
something like that?
yes, the witness in 1984 said that the witness that police spoke to in 1984 told the detectives he confessed to me. He told me he did it, and he showed me the knife that he used. And according to the witness, Mr. Nickerson carved the words "teacher dear" into the knife handle. And the witness said that he actually saw that. He told the police, he said, "I saw the knife," and he told the police, "I saw the knife Nickerson used. Nickerson carved the words "teacher dear" into the knife." Unfortunately, we've never found that knife.
And he later denied it, that witness.
No, that was the first witness. The first witness was a student who observed it, and according to the police reports, the parents of that student said, "Hey," he told us that Nickerson did it, and then when the police talked to him, he said, "No, I never said that," right? And then it was 6 years later, another witness came forward and said that Nickerson had confessed to him and showed him the knife that had the words "teacher dear" carved on it. We never found it. And the witness who came forward in 1984 was an associate of Mr. Nickerson, so he wouldn't have known. And I don't believe that. Mr. Nickerson's position as a suspect in the case was never revealed publicly. So this witness who came forward years later would not have known of Nickerson potentially being a suspect. So it wasn't as if he was relaying publicly available information. This was information only known to the police.
So between 1978 and 1984, no suspect was ever named?
No one was ever named publicly. No one was ever arrested. I mean, he was. The reality is, in 1978, from 1978 to 84, Nickerson was a potential suspect, but ultimately, no. And they looked at a lot of other people.
Was
So
he ever a direct student of Diane Peterson? Like in her
no,
class?
my understanding is he was not a student at the high school.
Oh, he was not a school, high school. He was on campus, but he was never a student
Correct, and
there. Then or before.
he was not a Branham High School student. So why was he there, right? And unfortunately, the detectives have never really been able to pin down a specific motive, but the original detectives theorized, given what they know about Mr. Nickerson, that she may have inadvertently come across a drug deal, and either
Occurring on campus at that time.
exactly, and may have said she was going to report it or tried to intervene. And that was why she was killed. Again, that's a theory that the original detectives came up with. It's not. It's certainly plausible. Probably, I would guess it's probably what happened, because Mr. Nickerson had no reason to be on the campus.
This was inside the school.
And on the she died right outside her classroom.
Okay. So, but physically inside the confines of the school.
Absolutely.
Not on the playground.
No, it happened in the hallway of the school, right outside her classroom.
You know what kind of teacher she was? What she taught? What subject?
I don't know. I think maybe social studies. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Is it highly unusual to solve a case like the DA's office did with the investigators old school way, given the fact that we have so much technology and it's usually that? Was that unusual now?
It was very unusual. It's both surprising and refreshing, and also encouraging that old-fashioned police work can still solve crime. We can still close out these cold cases, even if we don't have DNA, even if we don't have fingerprints. All it takes is a skilled investigator talking to witnesses.
An old school Hail Mary.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So, and Dickerson, he died of a self-inflicted gunshot.
He did in 1993.
And he was also shot.
No, he was not. He was out. He was out.
He was also shot in the midst of a drug deal or something, right?
Yes, there was an incident in which he was, according to the police reports, he took a person hostage, and I believe that he was shot during a kidnapping attempt. Mr. Nickerson was shot during a kidnapping attempt, and then years later he killed himself with a self-inflicted. He died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Was Nickerson's last known residence San Jose or New York City?
I believe it was, but I don't know for sure.
Somewhere like that.
Yeah, in fact, I will say yes. He was a San Jose resident at the time. No.